Okay,
Thank you.
So should that be part of the regular meeting?
Yes.
yes, but it will be a very short discussion.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it is 7:30 now. So let me start. Hi all, I'm Janet Anderson and I'm calling to order the Town of Lewisboro Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. I have confirmed that Kirsten has started recording this meeting. This meeting is happening via Zoom with live streaming to YouTube on the Lewisboro TV channel. The public can view the meeting there or on this Zoom meeting. And we have confirmed that the YouTube feed is active and working. Please note that in accordance with the governor's executive orders, no one is at our usual meeting location at 79 Boughton. I have confirmed with Kirsten, our planning board administrator, that the meeting has been duly noticed and legal notice requirements fulfilled. Notice has also been placed on the Town of Lewisboro website. Joining me on the Zoom conference from the Town of Lewisboro are members of the planning board, Jerome Kerner, Greg Lasorsa, Maureen McGuire, and Rich Claren. We have a quorum and thus we can vote on any matters that come before the board. Also with us are the planning and wetland consultant, Jan Johannesson, and our counsel, Judd Siebert, the planning board administrator, Kirsten Conrad, and the CAC chair, John Wolf. The governor's executive order number 202.1, which has been renewed, enables the planning board to meet remotely and electronically to function on behalf of the town. In accordance with this executive order, we intend to post both the recording and later a transcript of this meeting to the town website. A recording will be available on the town's YouTube channel, and of course, actions will be documented in meeting minutes. We do not have a public hearing scheduled for tonight, so we do not expect to take any public comments. The public can see and hear this meeting via the Zoom forum or live on Lewisboro TV YouTube channel. And again, as usual, we ask any applicants that are not currently engaging in dialogue to mute their lines. This will help everyone hear over the inevitable background noises. And as we go through this, to ease the recording of the votes, I will poll board members individually. I thank everyone in advance for understanding, and let's get started. So the first item on our agenda is calendar number 91-19WP and calendar number 10-19SW. This is the Macarthur and Salazar residence on 40 Old Pond Road, South Salem. It's an application for wetland activity and stormwater permits in connection with the reconstruction of a lakeside residence and cottage. And I believe we have a resolution, and I'll ask Jan to walk through that resolution.
Sure. This is a draft resolution for a wetland activity permit and a stormwater permit for William Macarthur. It's a property located at 40 Old Pond Road in the R2A and R4A zoning districts. Consists of 3 tax parcels totaling 1.17 acres of land owned by William Macarthur. The property currently contains a 3-bedroom home, which is in a state of disrepair, along with a detached garage, asphalt driveway, septic, well, and other improvements. The applicant's proposing to demolish the existing residence and garage and construct a new 2-bedroom residence and a detached 1-bedroom cabana on the property. The property does front on Lake Walkabuck, and the majority of the improvements are within the town's 150-foot wetland buffer, hence the need for the wetland permit. Old Pond Road, or the portion of Old Pond Road that the property fronts on, has been deemed to be a private road, which does not meet town road standards. The applicant has put forward a wetland mitigation plan, which provides for mitigation both on the subject property and on an adjacent parcel owned by the Westchester Land Trust. And we have letters from the Land Trust dated both on June 12th, 2020 and September 29th, 2020 that provide an indication that they're accepting of the mitigation and its perpetual maintenance. They're mentioned that the properties both in the R2A and R4A zoning district, but there are no improvements proposed on lot 17, and all the improvements are proposed within the R2A zone, so that zoning district controls. And as a condition of the approval, the 3 tax lots are going to be merged. The resolution makes reference to a review being conducted by the town building inspector on August 26, 2020, and references his review letter. There are a number of zoning variances required for the project, many of which have already been obtained. The project was referred to the South Salem Fire Department, and the resolution makes reference to their review letter and recommendation for a fire sprinkler system. There's a whereas clause that will become important later on page 2, about middle of the page, where it states, consistent with the recommendations of both the South Salem Fire Department and the Planning Board, the applicant is committed to install a fire sprinkler system within the proposed residence and cabana. At the last meeting, there was some discussion as to whether the fire sprinkler system would, if the applicant was proposing to install it within both the residence and the cabana. And there was some question as to whether it would service the cabana, so that was left open-ended. We have to discuss that this evening and potentially modify this whereas clause depending on the outcome. The resolution makes reference to review memos by the CAC, requirements for coverage under the New York State DEC Speedy's general permit for stormwater discharges from construction activity, makes reference to the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, that was prepared for the project. Several surveys that were prepared for the project. Indicates that the public hearing was opened on August 18th, adjourned to September 15th, and adjourned again and closed on October 20th, 2020. It's a type 2 action under seeker. The resolution identifies the approving plans prepared by both Jerry Barrett's office and Alan Pilch's office. The remainder of the whereas and resolve clause are fairly boilerplate. This is a 2-year approval expiring November 17th, 2022. There are a number of conditions that need to be satisfied prior to the signing of the plans. I'll go through those. They are responding to all the outstanding written comments by the town's professional staff, obtaining all the required outside agency approvals, which would be the flood development permit as issued by the building inspector to the fact that the property is within the flood zone. Zoning Board of Appeals variances, area variances. I mentioned that a number of them have been issued. At our last meeting, I believe 2 were open and still being processed by the ZBA. Health Department approval for the new septic tank. New York City DEP approval for an individual residential stormwater permit, and coverage under the Speedy's general permit for stormwater discharges. As I mentioned, there is some offsite mitigation being conducted on the land trust property. There's also an existing patio located on the land trust property that the land trust is allowing the applicant to utilize. So there's a license agreement for both those items that will be required. The land trust has indicated there has provided a letter of intent, but it needs to be formalized into a license agreement. So there's condition number 4 handles that, and that document needs to be prepared to the satisfaction of Planning Board counsel and my office. Condition 5 is an engineering and inspection fee. Condition 6 is the bonding of the wetland mitigation plantings and a maintenance period of 3 years in which the applicant will be required to submit maintenance reports or monitoring reports each year for 3 years. Condition 7 is a requirement of the DEC General Speedies Permit. It requires a stormwater maintenance easement, or stormwater easement and maintenance agreement. That's a document that will be prepared by the applicant's attorney and submitted to our attorney for review. And I think the remainder are pretty much boilerplate conditions. Those were the kind of the highlights or the unique conditions of the resolution. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but we do need to discuss the sprinkler condition.
Okay, does anyone have any, thank you, Jan. Does anyone have any questions for Jan on this? And do we know what the decision on the sprinkler has been? Perhaps I see Billy's on.
Hi, Janet. Thanks. I guess, Jan. Yeah, again, I think, you know, to be fair, I'm fine putting the sprinklers in both units. That's clearly what you guys are asking for me to do. So I think I requested setting it up only on the main house, just given that's where we're gonna have more space for a water tank. But since you guys have asked, you know, I don't see a way around. I mean, unless I'm missing something. My preference is to just have it on the main house. There's not gonna be any we're not planning to live on the lake cabin, or so we're going to spend most of our time in the main house. So again, I don't think this is it doesn't sound like this is open for discussion, or unless I'm missing something.
I think it was left open for discussion. That was the whole idea. You were going to come back with what would be involved in sprinklering the cabana.
I mean, I talked to the building inspector. He doesn't think this is needed. So I would just prefer to just keep it on the main house. That's where we're going to be spending the majority of our time. That's where we're going to sleep. So that's my preference, unless you guys have an objection to that proposal.
I see Jerome has a comment.
Yeah, I was going to comment before you mentioned that, Billy, that really is a decision I feel like falls in the building department's purview. It's really not a planning board issue. It was a recommendation by the fire department, but you know, it's not a residence per se. It's not a dwelling, and even though there might be people sleeping there, I mean, there's access, easy access to grade. Fire alarm system would be essential. You know, a fire alarm per se.
Smoke detector.
Smoke detector. But other than that, I would think it's up to the building inspector and not our decision.
Yeah, just to touch on that, I think if you ask the building inspector, he's going to say, well, it's not required for either. You know, a sprinkler system for this home is not required by building code. This is a requirement being you know, instituted by the planning board. So I think it does lie in your lap. There was a recommendation by the South Salem Fire Department, and that's something that you're picking up on and including in the resolution. So I do think that it needs to be a determination made by this board.
Well, my opinion is that it's suitable. It's required by the residents because of the limited access by the fire department. But it's a recommendation, perhaps, that it be in the cabana. But it's a cabana, you know. It's and it has access to grade all around, and I feel it's not required there. That's my opinion.
Okay, any comments from any other board member on this? I'm not hearing any. I would say I too thought that as long as you can access from the same level as the bedroom and the main area out to the outdoors, you know, my primary concern is getting people out, not necessarily recognizing that they might lose the cabana, but it would be the most important part is getting people out safely. And that seems to be, met. But, if there are kids in there or something, I can't really judge that. But if the applicant doesn't want it, I guess I would like it in the main house, and I guess I'm willing to let it go in this house as well. Richard or Greg, any comments?
Sorry, Janet, when you say you're willing to let it go in this house as well, does that mean no sprinklers or
I'm
yes
willing
sprinklers?
I'm willing to say no sprinklers in the cabana. I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think, yeah, I would agree with you. I think that the risks have been laid out by both the fire department and our consultant. And if the applicant wants to put them in, great. If he doesn't want to put them in, that's his prerogative. And that's how I feel. So yes, in the main house and no in the cabana.
okay, so if I understand that correctly, that would say what we would, if no one else has a comment, what we would do and modify on page 2, just delete the words "and cabana" in that whereas clause that Jan had referenced previously.
That's the 9th whereas clause on the 2nd page, and it references proposed residence in Cabana. Those 2 words "and Cabana" would be deleted.
Okay, it looks like Rich has his hand up.
Just out of curiosity, what is the approximate cost of what the sprinkler system would be for the Cabana? Any idea?
I don't have any idea, Rich. I think I mean, all I heard from my architect is that it's quite expensive. I don't have an actual number. So this is, I guess, both in the benefit of keeping, obviously, some of the economic hurdle, but also, as I said before, the plan for this cabana is going to be an open space. There's no ceiling. So it's going to be hard to think about putting a water tank in the small cabana to serve sprinklers. I think for the main house, because it's going to be, there's probably going to be more areas where we can find space. I think the main constraint, my architect has is really on space for serving the water. Because I think the way they work is the water needs to be stored. It cannot be sourced from the pump. It has to be stored for sprinklers.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm okay waiving as to the Cabana as well.
You're okay not having it in the cabana, just to make sure.
Correct.
All right. Any other comments? Any comments on the other resolution? So if not, I would look for a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I just saw a typo, page 6, paragraph 6, applicants just needs a paren possessive there.
Sorry, my ignorance. Can I ask a question? And probably question to my counsel, but I think Jan mentioned one of the conditions was that I merge all 3 lots. Is that something that was discussed at some point? I honestly don't remember we talked about it.
That was what you proposed. You proposed the merger of the lots because you have buildings that go through property lines, so they had to be merged for zoning purposes.
Okay.
But I think that was your proposal. It wasn't a requirement.
And I assume, Michael, that's something that we can do easily. I mean, it's not going to be a 6-month holdup.
It's a letter to the tax assessor. It's you don't require any other
Got it.
approvals or boards. It's done with the tax assessor.
Great. Sorry, Mike.
So Janet,
Yes, Jerome.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the resolution as drafted with the correction that was just offered. And yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jerome. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Greg. Any further discussion?
Just quickly, the construction-related activities, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday. I'm just thinking if there was construction going on in a summer holiday weekend on the lake. Just from a good neighbor type of thing. I don't know if that is.
Typically, that's the association. The association has restrictions that might apply there.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know, but perhaps, I think what we have done in the past is had the resolution allow that, but then perhaps ask on the, ask the applicant to manage it. So maybe it doesn't happen on the 4th of July or on, 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings on beautiful lake days.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, that's fine.
But I think we've allowed it, but asked for a recognition that this is a active community in the summer.
Fair enough. I'm good.
Okay, so, and Jerome, did you raise your hand again?
I did. I just wanted to comment again on and state that I feel the quality of design, sensitivity to the site, and to the environmental concerns is notable on this project. And as I said before, I think it sets a high bar for other people coming in with the lake projects. And again, I commend the applicant and the consultants on this work.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, then I'm gonna move to ask for everyone's vote. And again, I'm gonna do it, individually. So Rich,
Yes.
looking Jerome,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. So the motion carries. All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
And I've lost, okay. The second item on our agenda is, we do not have any new application material for the Schwartz residence, which is calendar number 57-20 WP, calendar number 09-20 SW. It's on Twin Lakes Road on a vacant lot. It's an application for construction of a 1-bedroom house. And there was some discussion about setting a site walk for this. I don't know if anyone is, Darren, I think, is on from, or Alan is on from the applicant. I know in the time of COVID, maybe this is not a group site walk, but I wanted to see if anybody else, if anyone was interested in a site walk. I think there were some questions about the orientation perhaps of the house, the location of the driveway, whether it could be shared off, be adjacent, and then the location of the stormwater facility. So I think those were the major issues that we discussed in our last review. Is anyone interested in attending a site walk on this?
Janet?
Yes, hi, Jerome.
I think there was one other concern, which was that, albeit this is shown as a studio for a photographer, photographic work, and the health department has decreed a 1-bedroom. The building department did make comments about use of darkroom space or other space that's included. And we have to be aware that this house could be sold as a more than 1-bedroom house. And I think that we need to be prudent and look at it from that point of view. We can't just, at least that's my feeling, we just can't gloss that over, that this could become come back to us as a separate property with more than 1 bedroom.
I think you're right. I think that's really the call of the building inspector and health department, but certainly there are, even as designed, it could be used as a 2-bedroom, I believe. So, but that, the fact that it could be sold separately, that also made me think about, the other piece was access to the lake. So, I mean, I think there's questions that we have right now. Tonight, we're only really on to discuss whether or not we want to have a site walk and when it would be, and then to perhaps inform our future discussions on this. So I know I would like to see it, and particularly in light of Maureen's comments last time that perhaps there's a way to move it further away from the lake, further out of the wetland buffer, and to try to understand where the septic has to go, where the house has to go. So I am interested in going, but yes, Alan.
I was just going to say, I think it's very important that the board does see this property because, it's a beautiful tree lot. And where the house has been placed has been done very carefully to minimize that impact. And just so you know, we've also done, since we've last been before the board, we have done deep hole tests for the septic system. And I'll just tell you that we went down 7 feet in the 3 deep hole tests and basically found medium to fine sands, sandy loam soils, no bedrock, no groundwater. We also did, just so you know, a deep hole test, which was witnessed by Vinny from Keller's office for the stormwater. And, between 2 rock outcrops, it's interesting. I think these are just boulders, like giant boulders, kind of like, the large rock on 116 in North Salem, something like this, because we went down 5 feet before we hit bedrock. And it was in, sandy loam and fine sand soils. And I'll just tell you that opens up the opportunity to do a subsurface system there because of the depth that we had. But I just think it's very important that the board go to the property just to see the thought that was put into the project to locate this house. And I think it can be done safely. I know that many other boards have been doing site walks, and I would say doing social distancing and wearing masks, and they can do it very carefully. I know that from the board that I sit on.
Right.
That we've been doing it since the beginning of the pandemic in that fashion. So I would urge the board to please go to the site and see it. And I think it's important that the board understand the process that we all went through in order to locate the house, the septic, and where stormwater is.
Janet, I would like to attend the site walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
And John would. Okay. Do you have any constraints on time? And I know we usually do it the week before the, the following board meeting, but I also have a slight bias to say, let's try to get it in before it gets any colder. So I don't know. I mean, I could say, let's do it this coming Saturday, the 21st.
That's good.
I agree. The
I
sooner
will
the
not
better.
be available for the Saturdays through the middle of December.
Okay. We could do it Sunday, the 22nd, maybe?
Greg, did you say through December?
The middle of December, yes.
Okay, including November?
Yes, from this, the next few, it's about 4 or 5 more Saturdays, Saturdays, yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you want to do it on the 22nd, I guess I can do it.
I mean, it's not, 22nd, 9 o'clock, so the sun will be up.
Sure.
Okay. So Alan, I think, again, the important thing that we will want to see if it's possible is to have a sense of where the house will be.
Yes,
Okay, you understand what we want.
yes, we'll make sure that it was staked before. We'll make sure it's all in place as to
Great.
where it is. It's supposed to be a very lovely weekend too. It's supposed to be about 60 during the days on Saturday and Sunday. So I picked a
What
good
is
weekend to do it.
What is the house number? It's not 0. Is
It's
it
adjacent to 66. You won't miss it.
66?
It's 68, but there's no house obviously there. But you'll see the mailbox for 66, and it's the wooded lot
So just-
immediately beyond
It just says 0 on the agenda. So
it. I thought that was curious too.
Well, that's vacant lots get that. And so I'm going to ask Kirsten to send out a reminder on this on Friday to the board. Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. I think that will be helpful. And obviously, John Wolf, I didn't ask if you could make it, but if you want to, you're certainly welcome to attend then as well.
Yeah, there's some of the CAC members showed interest when it showed up on your agenda, so they would probably be represented.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think that's no more on that, right? We're done? Okay, so the next item on the agenda, well, we have 2 special use permit renewals. And these are for the carriers on cell towers, not for the tower structure itself. And I don't know if we have people on for this, but the first one is
Yes.
calendar.
Michael Sheridan's here.
I'm here. Michael Sheridan from Snyder and Snyder. Good evening.
Great, thank you, Michael. So the first one is calendar number 3-09 PB. This is Verizon Wireless at the Vista Fire Department on 3077 Smith Ridge Road in South Salem. And it's an application for a special use permit renewal. And I believe that Jan had a memo, and we have already gotten a response, I believe, for that as well. But Jan, perhaps you want to go quickly over the memo?
Sure. As you mentioned, this is the renewal of the special use permit for Verizon. It has nothing to do with the tower itself. It's just the equipment that Verizon's operating. This is at 377 Smith Ridge Road at the Vista Firehouse. The special use permit does require a public hearing. So that's something that would need to be scheduled. I believe these are typically referred to the AAB. So we made that recommendation. Other than that, we had very few comments. One item on the surety AF, part 1, and requesting that the applicant submit part 2 of the surety AF. Both of those items have been, since the drafting of my memo, have been submitted and appear acceptable. We had a comment about the structural report, and it was a little, it lacked a little bit of specificity, so we requested more definitive statements of structural integrity, and that has also been completed, and they referenced the latest structural reports that have been prepared for the tower. So that was satisfactory. And then our comment number 4, consistent with how the board's been handling the renewals on the carriers, is that instead of having them in 5-year increments, I think at the last go around with a similar application, the board indicated that it would prefer to have the tower special permit on 5-year increments, and then the individual carriers, instead of 5-year increments, have that special permit issued indefinitely. So we made that recommendation. So we would just have to follow or track the special permits on the tower itself. Of course, you get to look at everything at that point in time. So it didn't seem like a great use of time to keep on having the carriers come back for their individual special permit renewals. But other than that, it was a complete application, and I believe all of our comments have been since addressed. So I would have no reluctance to the scheduling of a hearing.
Okay. is the board in general agreement that we could go ahead and schedule the public hearing for December?
We could
Yes.
schedule, yeah. I'm a little uncomfortable with an indefinite renewal of a permit. I don't, I mean, with all due respect to Jan, who I almost always agree with, I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
Okay, what,
Not for the tower, Greg, but.
Yeah, I know.
The individual provider.
Yeah, I mean, so we get to see them once every 5 years.
I just made the recommendation because we had handled I think a couple of months ago, a carrier application that came along with the tower. It was, I think it was Insight Wireless and then Sprint Spectrum and AT&T.
Mhm.
And we,
Yeah. No, I understand that. I just think, things change. Things
Mhm.
change in the town.
Yep, I got you. Whatever you're comfortable with. It's definitely your purview.
you want to keep it at 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're okay with that.
Anyone else?
That's fine.
Yes.
All right. And so we schedule the public hearing for December. Or can I look for consensus to say that we refer this to the AAB?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing no objection, I'm going to assume we can refer that to the AAB. And I guess I would also ask Jan and Judd to prepare a resolution, assuming that the public hearing will go well, and we will have a resolution available for December as well, as if that, again, is the view of the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That resolution can be prepared and we can put, like a 5-year increment on it. And then if there's further discussion that night, we can adjust it, whatever we want to do. But this is the way we've been handling, these carrier renewals, is to have the public hearing and be poised to adopt a resolution on its close. So if it's acceptable, we'll go ahead and do that.
I would like that. So, okay, any other discussion on this application? With that, I think we are going to have a very similar discussion on calendar number 6-12 PB, the Verizon Wireless at Leon Levy Preserve, which is 1411 Route 35, South Salem, New York. Once again, I think that I could see that the memo was very similar, Jan. Any?
Ditto.
And I think similarly, the applicant has provided responses, ditto, right?
Yep.
Okay, so again, I guess we would look for a agreement. We can just do a consensus for a public hearing, right, Judge?
Correct.
That's what we just
Yeah,
did last time.
consensus, yeah. For
So-
AAB, AAB and public hearing.
Right.
Right, so, okay, so we're looking for refer to AAB, public hearing, and directing Jan and Judd to draft a resolution that we would be prepared to discuss the night of the public hearing.
With the 5-year duration.
5 years.
Okay, so we now have that done. I think that, is there anything else we need to cover before we move on?
Just one question. What is the date of your December meeting?
15th.
December
15th. 15th.
15th.
Yes,
Thank you.
December. So, and you will get with Kirsten to discuss or to know how to do the public hearing notice and all that.
Yes. We will
Correct.
do that. And thank you very much. I'll see you in December. Thank you.
Great. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a sketch plan review, calendar number 05-20 PB. the Venencia lot line change for 249 Kitchewan Road, South Salem, New York, and 237 Kitchewan Road in South Salem, New York, and no number Kitchewan Road, which might also be 0 Kitchewan Road. So this is an application for a lot line change. And I see Tim, I guess, is on for this.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Tim Cronin, and it was my office that put together the plan that we're discussing tonight. If possible, could I share the screen to put the plan up on the board?
Sure.
Try. Can everybody see this?
Not yet, but it'll get here. There it is.
All right. My cursor is at 237 Kitchewan Road. That's the existing Venezia house. And the lot, which doesn't have a number, is this one over here, which is to the, would be the east or west, excuse me, of the existing residence. They recently purchased 249 Kitchewan, which is the one that's colored in right here, which actually included what you see here in color, plus this line here was approximately 8.53 acres. This lot line adjustment will take a portion of the newly purchased lot along this line here and combine it with the existing Venezia properties. At the last meeting, there was some conversation about a piece of, or say a flagpole, if you will, that went right along this line here out to Kitchewan Road. As you can see, in talking to my client, he was amenable to eliminating that flagpole. So there is no second access on Kitchewan Road for the existing Venezia property. We received the original memo from Jan at Coed Sessions. He had some comments, one of which was to provide the buildable area, which we did, which is outlined here in red. We also just recently received a memo from the building inspector where he has acknowledged that both of these lots, upon completion of the lot line adjustment, will be code compliant lots. And that's pretty much the application and the proposal. So we are not creating a new lot, and we are actually combining 3 lots, the newly purchased lot, the existing Venezia house lot, and the vacant piece. We had a tennis court to the other side, combining those 3 lots into 2. So in light of that, and based on a comment from Jan's first memo, we would respectfully request that a public hearing be waived in this matter, because we are not creating a new building lot, nor are we creating a non-code compliant lot through this proposal. That's it.
Okay. So again, if you stop sharing, we get to watch it, see everyone, which helps a little. I do understand we can waive a public hearing if there are no variances required. Jan, I believe you have a memo, if you want to hit the highlights of it.
Yeah, they're very few because it's a pretty short memo. The applicant responded to just about all of our prior comments. There was a couple of items just that we wish to have both on the subdivision plat and the IPP. So just, showing the buildable area on the plat, and a couple other notes just being transferred over to the plat. Other than that, it looked very good. And Tim is correct that on a lot line change that does not result in a new building lot and does not require a variance, the 3-step subdivision process can be modified and reduced to 2 steps. Step 1 being the sketch, which was submitted, and step 3 being the final. And the board can waive public hearing, which it's done on numerous occasions for lot line changes like this.
So I'm looking for the sense of the board about whether you're willing to waive the lot line of the public hearing.
Is that a motion required, or?
Yeah, what we typically do, Jerome, is if the board is in agreement that we can waive the public hearing, is that we ask Jan to prepare a resolution proceeding directly to final, and that resolution will include the fact that we've waived the public hearing under the subdivision regulations and are proceeding directly to final.
Have we heard? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have we heard from anyone? Have we gotten any communication from anyone on this proposal? I don't remember. I don't think we did, but I thought some people were here at the last meeting.
We have
Maybe I'm wrong.
one neighbor is on this Zoom tonight.
Yeah.
Mr. Goodman had contacted me during the week and I sent him the revised plat. Don, do you want to comment at all?
Myself? I'm looking through my notes from the last meeting, see if I remembered there being any public participation.
And I'm just wondering if have there been any stated, objections or concerns before we waive the public hearing.
Jan heard me say Jan, but I had said John, as in John Goodman.
John Goodman.
Okay, thank you.
I actually got that, but that's okay.
So I had no comment.
Right.
So go ahead, John.
Yeah, I have no objections to the waiver of the hearing. The concern that we had, if we had one, was really with that flagpole. And the assumption therefore would be obviously that if this proceeds, that won't somehow rear its head again. And if it did, we would have an opportunity to comment on it. The concern is, of course, with the curb cut, which at that location would seem totally inappropriate. We want to be very comfortable that wouldn't unfold as this proceeds.
Right.
Okay, so you did see the plan and that you realize there is no longer a flagpole, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And to just to clarify, if the applicant wanted to bring that back, that would require another planning board application and another lot line change between those two lots to bring a flagpole down to the.
Right.
Okay, and I just going sort of logically, there is a Martha Goodman on. Would you, John, know if that Martha is somehow related to you?
I'm not sure, but I believe so, yes. She's my wife, yes.
Okay, so any comments, I guess, I mean, does she want to speak individually? I don't see the mute going off, so.
She says no.
Okay. I see, Steve, you've unmuted yourself. Are you a neighbor or a?
Yes, I would just make the comment that I'm a neighbor of John's on Kitchewan Road across from where this change would have occurred. And I agree completely with John and Martha that eliminating that is preferred.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have heard from a couple of neighbors. Greg, I don't know if that was your.
Well, I mean, I certainly hear things that would make me feel comfortable in waiving the public hearing, but I'm just generally uncomfortable unless we know that there's not really an outcry against it. So it sounds like this is something we can probably go ahead with on that.
Yeah, there was only one controversial element, and that was that
flagpole. Yeah.
Flagpole that potentially led to further subdivision.
Right.
But I think they did a good job in moving it.
Right. And, there still may be an easement across, but I think that is outside really of our purview once that happens. So, so I guess, again, is there a sense that we can waive the public hearing and move directly for preparing a resolution?
I'm in favor of waiving the public hearing.
Thank you, Maureen. I see.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Jerome has thumbs up. You okay, Rich?
Yes, based upon what we've heard tonight, yes.
Okay, great. So, so we will ask that Jan prepare a resolution for our consideration at the next meeting, and indicating that the board had agreed to waive the public hearing. Anything else on this? Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the calendar number 35-20 WP.
I don't think there's that easement, if there is anything that can't possibly be referred.
Gotta mute them, Jan.
We need to mute John Goodman. Where is he? Oh, thank you, Kirsten. Faster with the fingers than I am. Okay, so Askelson residence on 82 Mill River Road, South Salem, New York. This is an application for the demolition and construction of a single-family house. And I saw, oh, well, he signed on, but I see a ceiling, I think.
In a crooked
Here
picture.
I am.
There you are, Ken.
How are you?
Okay, so I don't believe we've received any updated materials from you. I think we have an old review memo from Jan, which perhaps you might want to review, or you could tell us where you stand on this, on preparing information for us on this.
Okay. I don't know. Jan, did you want to go ahead first on that? Did you have anything to add?
No, just that, we have a memo out there and we're looking for some progress and response to the comments. So.
I know that I spoke with Hans, the architect, and he expressed that his drawings, he's revised the drawings to bring the front of the structure back from the road by 10 feet and reduce the length of the structure by 6 feet from the wetlands at the rear of the property. He reduced the heights by a few feet, and then the footprint by a couple of percent. So let's see. Also, the completed plans, they should be done within the next day or two. He's very close to completion of those. So I could, hand deliver, copies of those to you guys as you need them. And
Well,
so
with all due respect, I think we need to adjourn this and hold it over till next month until we get the plans.
That's right. That's what I was going to just say, because I don't want to waste everyone's time on this.
Just on for a second, Jerome, as a control date. So we're just checking in.
I see. Okay, I get you.
Yeah. If you guys want to set a date, we'll just adjourn and then come back.
Kirsten, what's the submission deadline for December for reoccurring applicants?
It's November 24th. So if you think you can have information to us by November 24th, we would put you on for December.
Next Tuesday.
Okay. I don't think that should be a problem. I think we're good.
Good.
And Ken, feel free to have Hans give me a call and we can go over the items, the open items before he submits to make sure he's captured everything.
Yeah, I think that's the best way, just directly like that makes no sense. So I'll just have him give you a call and then you guys can work that out and we'll come back to you.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda was the McGinnis residence, 17 Schoolhouse Road, South Salem, New York, which was an application for a wetland permit. And they have asked us to adjourn until another submittal. They don't think it'll be December, so it might be January. So we will wait for that submittal.
Could I make a statement on that?
Yes.
Because I might not be around for the next. Yes. But I think we need to look at this from the perspective of whether or not how we would review it if it were all submitted as one application. That is to say, the previously approved work and this work. I've had feelings about this, the applicant and the previous submission as having been, attempts at avoiding the approval process altogether, getting his hand slapped and then coming back. And then we negotiated as best we could what turned out to be a reasonable solution. But I'm just wondering if this isn't the same kind of workaround, suggesting that if all of this work was submitted along with the previous plan, if we would have said, whoa, this is just too much. This is all in the wetland buffer. And I just would ask that as we proceed on this plan, that we just keep that in the back of our minds. This sits on my mind, and I don't know if you all have any further comments on that, but that's my concern.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think one of the problems that we have to think about is if there's comments in the prior resolution that get changed if we do this resolution, how we, make sure that anyone following in the future isn't looking for, a sign on a shed that no longer exists or something. So we'll have some tricks on that, but I'm not sure that the prior application and this application, I mean, we might have looked to swivel things or smooth things, but I don't know that it would have been much different. I'm sorry, Maureen, I think you were starting to talk and I spoke over you.
no, that's okay. I casually know the applicant, and I believe that it is just a case of they're a new young family that moved into the neighborhood from the city. It was perhaps not feasible for them to conduct all of the work at the same time. I know with my house, I split things up as I saved more nickels. And I think it's dangerous for us to presume ahead of time something like the worst and some kind of, nefarious plan that people have hatched. I just think that's not a good precedent to set.
It's just that, Maureen, it comes so close on the heels of an approval that took so long. And we were told about how much money was spent on mitigation, which was more than we had actually required. And it seems to me things don't hang together then. If they're scraping nickels together in order to do more improvements, how come they spend so much more than they had to on the mitigation? So there, things like that, I guess, get stuck in my craw, and I don't like being taken advantage of as a planning board.
If I can, yeah, and Jerome, I guess my point would be one, your observation is one that you've shared with the board. There was a prior wetland violation that led to the prior application that's been resolved, disposed of. And I think if those concerns are harbored by you or any other board members, I think it's appropriate to raise them once the applicant's in front of us, advancing this application. And I think that's the time to have this discussion so the applicant can actually be, in a position to respond, as those concerns are raised. So
Okay.
I understand the concern. I'm not discounting it, but I think the appropriate time to really air that is when we have the applicant or their representatives in front of us and we can talk this out.
Okay, so I withdraw my comments and I request they be struck from the minutes.
Well, I'm not saying you need to strike them. I'm just saying.
I just soon not have them in there if
Okay.
they're not relevant at this time. Okay.
Okay, yeah, since we've been using the transcript as minutes, that's, we'll have to think about this. Okay, I mean, I think there are some, I did have some questions on sort of the conflict, you know, the plans weren't necessarily holding together, but I suspect that a lot of things will become clearer when they resubmit and follow the indications that were in Jan's memo. So that's adjourned, and it may not be in December. It sounded like a quick turnaround, so it looks like we might not get it until January. Any other discussion on this before I move on? Okay, the next item on the agenda is a referral from the town board to amend the town code number of section 220-40. This is the elimination of accessory apartment inspections and the associated fees. This came after the accessory apartments became an as of right addition to the zone, to the code. So eliminating the, so the town board is now recommending that they eliminate these inspections and fees. Do we have, I mean, it seems to make sense to me. Can we write a letter back to the town board that basically says this seems appropriate? Do you have any other comments? I don't know.
I would agree to that. You know.
Greg, it looked like you might have a comment. Are you muted?
You're on mute, Greg. You're on mute.
Okay, so what is this actually proposing? Because I was reading some of the notes. Is the town suggesting to strike 2240 from its rules and regulations?
No, not the entirety, Greg. Only those provisions that require inspections of accessory apartments and a payment of a fee, as those accessory apartments are now permitted as of right, as opposed to special permit.
So there'll be no restrictions whatsoever on anyone who has any desire to put an accessory apartment in this town?
No, there'll still be restrictions on occupancy, location, and number of units, size, exterior appearance, off-street parking, utility approval.
Basically took it out of the hands of the CBA and put it in the lap of the building inspector.
Building inspector, yeah.
And that was a local law that was it last year?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a couple of years ago. It's already been done. So that's been done. The only thing that this really does is say, well, since it's now as of right, we're going to eliminate, you know, it seems contradictory to say you need an inspection and fees, which used to be part of the special permit.
Right. The building inspector used to have to go out on a yearly basis or every 2 years, right?
Judd, are we the only town in Westchester that doesn't require a special permit?
Greg, I can't answer that. I'd have to do a survey of codes. I think it's a mix depending on the municipality. Some do continue to do special permits. Some continue, or some allow them as of right. It really depends.
Well, there's still restrictions, though. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of land and certain size lot. You know,
Right.
Greg, it's not.
Yeah, no, I get that. So once it's built, that's it. We'll never have to look at it again.
Well, the building inspector would continue to have to monitor it from an enforcement standpoint.
Mm-hmm. But not inspect it every 2 years.
Not inspect. The inspection piece was part of the special permit because you needed a particularized authorization from the ZBA to have that permit. So as is typical with a lot of special permits, there's a time period and additional requirements, including inspections.
But that all went through at 2 or 3 years ago, I think. I mean,
No, I mean, then what are we talking about today?
the only thing we're talking about today is since it's no longer a special permit, it doesn't seem to make
Eliminating,
sense.
right, the inspection and the fee piece.
Right. Okay, but then what I'm saying still stands. So once you get the permission to put up an accessory apartment, that is the end of that's the end of it. There's no requirement in our town. There would be no to inspect it to make sure that everything's being complied with. The only way that would be done would be if there's a whistleblower or something that says, I think something is not correct here. Would you go out and look at it?
That would be the likely result. I mean, it would be the building inspector's purview to determine when an inspection is warranted, whether by complaint or, his own protocol in terms of inspection but it would not be a mandatory, periodic requirement as it was when the special permit provisions were in place.
Okay.
Right.
As I understand it, this was a recommendation by the building inspector because he felt like there was no real mandate for him there was no reason for him to go out anymore because there's no special permit for him to be
checking whether the conditions are in being satisfied or not. Yeah.
Right. In inspecting the compliance for the special permit. If there's not a special permit, how can he see whether or not they're complying to it?
And see whether or not they're complying to the rules that we have on the books that are set forth in 22040.
Well, he does that initially as part of the application for.
And what happens if somebody tries to, make a change?
Well, I think no different than anything, if you build a house and something changes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they could add a bedroom, you mean, or
Sure.
It's the same as a private residence. So it's a violation.
If it gets caught or if it gets in, But so,
Hello?
I guess I'm trying to figure out whether you feel that we should be saying, okay, even though there's not a special permit anymore, there still should be some kind of review.
I don't see this going hand in hand. I don't see the absence of a special permit requirement going hand in hand with inspections. In other words, if you lose one, you have to get rid of the other.
Have you got the code handy there, Judd, to look at what inspection we're actually speaking of? It's certainly not the initial approval, right? Or if you get a building.
I have the code right in front of me.
Right. And so what would be eliminated would be the inspection requirement that occurs on a biennial basis 2 years out, not the initial inspection, but a periodic inspection of every 2 years.
Yeah. So why would that be handled differently than a single family residence? Once a permit
because it is different because it's an apartment and it has different requirements. So, for example, in an occupancy, I'm just reading: the owner of the one-family lot shall maintain his legal residence, at least one of the dwelling units on the lot. The maximum occupancy of the accessory apartments is 4 persons. That's open to concern. There's no such requirement on a single-family resident. Location and number of units. An accessory apartment may be located in the principal dwelling building and may include existing, new, or expanded structure construction. There shall be no more than 1 accessory apartment permitted per 1 family building per lot. That's potential for a problem there. Accessory apartment is not permitted on any single lot where more than 1 dwelling unit already exists, regardless of whether additional dwelling is prior non-conforming dwelling unit or not. I mean, there are rules that I think have to be looked at.
Well, you bring up a good point. It's certainly one that goes beyond construction modification, and that's bedrooms. Let's say we're sleeping.
Mhm.
If there's only four persons permitted,
Right.
and you get a family that starts to crowd in and sleep 6 or 8,
Mhm.
That's a problem. So you're right there. Though there are occupancy issues that perhaps need to be monitored.
I mean, I understand the rationale behind this, and I understand that at least on the surface, the argument of saying it's no different than a home, which I disagree with, but I understand why that argument would be made. But I mean, I think there is a difference between an apartment and a home.
I agree with you.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah, I do see your point there. And I guess I'm leaving it to Judd. I don't know what, so the question of what you would compare or inspect against if you don't have a special permit, what you're saying is the remaining items in 220-40 that you've just sort of reviewed with us would be what would be checked.
Right. So perhaps the inspection component remains without the requirement for a registration form and a fee. But the continuing.
I think that I could see a benefit in doing away with the registration form and the fee. I mean, I understand that.
Yeah, although I understand the town needs money too, but yes, I think that makes more sense if we're going to allow.
Well, the town needs money, but they're the one proposing to do away with the fee.
Yeah, I know, but the point is that if you don't have a special permit, but you're saying we want this inspected and we want to support accessory housing.
I don't want, and I don't think the building inspector wants to go around and check on all these things. And I get that. But if we're going to be allowing great leeway in setting up accessory apartments, I think that we run the risk that some of these apartments and some of the regulations that we have for these apartments could be taken advantage of. So who's going to monitor that? I mean, should we not monitor it? If we don't monitor it, I mean, if that's what the town wants, and that's what the town wants. My suggestion in this consulting aspect that we're doing right now is that I think that's potentially problematic.
Okay, so I see your point. So what would you think? And I guess I'd look up, Jan has comment.
I was just wondering if you maybe you keep an inspection in there, but you don't make it mandatory that the building inspector has to inspect every 2 years. Maybe it's like
pop quiz or something.
No, but he could say the building inspector may inspect with reasonable notice. So it's not requiring him to do and manage all of this. They're short-staffed to go out and have to do inspections every 2 years in a number of these properties. Maybe it's too much, but if you got a complaint and there was overcrowding or some sort of issue, there's a mechanism in the code that would allow for an inspection.
Well,
can I make a comment here?
Sure.
If we're concerned about being a nanny state, so to speak, it's an apartment within an existing residence or adjacent to. There's a landowner or some who should be responsible. Maybe there should be something in there that requires an affidavit from the landlord that there's compliance, and there are only whatever the checklist of compliance issues are, so that the building inspector doesn't have to go out there. He gets a piece of paper that says everything's fine. There are 4 people living here, and leave us alone. But if they have 6 people or 8 people and they submit that sheet, well, then the building inspector has a course to inspect.
The only thing I would say is I think we have had some experience in trying to track people that have, say, agreed to pump their septics every so often. So this becomes another tracking thing, and did everybody send back their piece of paper? that might be easier to track than if you don't send back your piece of paper, we're going to do an inspection, maybe is the stick, but it gets a little, I want to make sure we're not building a bureaucracy by doing that. But I think if you say compliance with this can be, we recommend that compliance with these code be required either through an inspection by the building inspector or an affidavit from the owner of the property who says that this complies with all parts of 220-40. Great.
I think we're going around. We're taking away the best solution to this problem, which is systematic inspections. And we're trying to figure out other ways to do it, which are not as good. And I mean, I think, and I don't need to be cynical, but I think I understand why the building inspector doesn't want to now have to take on an added burden of inspecting these rather open accessory apartment situations, because, there's the possibility of this being maybe taken advantage of, or maybe that's the wrong word to use. But I could see the building inspector not wanting to get involved in this because it might be a higher level of involvement than what he already has. So I get that, and I get why we're looking to do away with this. I mean, I understand there's sociological issues and so on, and we're looking to bring in affordable housing and affordable people who can live here, the people who can live in affordable housing. That's all fine. That's great. But I do think there are issues that that this systematic inspection is intended to address. And I think if we take it away, I think like I said before, I think it's problematic, and I would not be in favor of that. And I think you raise a good point, Jan. If we're going to start, trying to figure out ways to replace the rules that we have on the book right now, then I think that that's not helping. That's just change for change's sake, and maybe it's not as good. So anyway, that's where I stand with full cognizance of why we're trying to do this. But I think there's an issue here that we might be not taking full account of, and I think we have to.
Well, Greg, I thank you for your bringing this up, because I think it while it seemed to make a lot of sense on first blush, I think you've given me some things to think about. So in any case, it is going to be in front of the board, I believe, in early December. So do the people remaining on this, it looks like both Rich and Maureen may have dropped off because of, I don't know, internet problems perhaps.
Well, in light of his impending, election, he may have dropped off out of a potential conflict, or maybe he wanted to recuse himself on this issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So should we? It sounds like what we're coming to is we disagree with the removal of the inspection, but we would be all right with the removal of the fee and the document, whatever that was, registration. And
well, we're certainly not. I'm certainly not looking to make it harder to establish an accessory apartment. And if the registration and fee is an impediment that can be removed, then I would be okay with that.
Okay. So, Judd, you think you have? Well, Jerome, would you be? What you're thinking?
I'm echoing what you just said, Janet. Listening to Greg, I'm more inclined to agree with him that we need to have. We're not creating a simpler solution. It gets convoluted, and the fee, I think, offsets the expense of sending the inspector out there. It's $50, whatever it is. It's his time to go out there and inspect. It's the reality of life. It's not going to break anybody's bank. It's not that much.
Okay, so and I think that makes sense too. So perhaps, Judd, what we're saying, is we'd like a memo to the town board that would say, we are not, we believe there's value in continuing to have an inspection by the building inspector.
With a fee.
And yeah, believe that this should not be, this clause should not be stricken from the,
Right.
section of the code.
Yeah, so all we're in favor of is eliminating the registration piece. The inspection and the fee will stay in, we want this inspection and fee to stay in place, is that correct?
Yes.
Sure. I'm
Because
not quite sure.
we're gonna need a motion and we're gonna need 3 votes in favor of that for you to
Okay.
sign the letter.
So can I have a motion from someone to that effect?
I'll make a motion to recommend upon review of the proposed amendment to the town code that we suggest that we eliminate the registration portion relating to accessory apartments, but we recommend keeping both the inspection and the fee provisions.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Let me call a vote. Jerome,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I also am in favor of that. So Judd, if you could
Okay.
draft that memo and,
There is a phone symbol on there. That might be Maureen. I'm not sure. But we're not hearing her.
it just went away.
It's not.
Oh.
Rich
but
is back.
I'm seeing Rich. Where is he? Oh, you're back. Okay. The next item on the agenda is similarly something that would be, it's correspondence that we got from Stamford, Connecticut zoning board, and they want to amend
Yeah, I
theirs.
just want to let, I was listening to most of it. I don't know why I got disconnected. I was listening to most of it on my phone. I had phoned in, so
Oh, I see.
Okay.
I've heard most of the comments. It wasn't,
Would you like to, well, I don't know, can we ask him to vote since we already sort of did, or what happens now? You're on the board, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it may carry over. I mean, I heard part of what Greg said. I guess you have the 3 votes, so I guess this may carry over into, I guess, January potentially. So I guess I'll just abstain on it. I guess it's easier. You already have the 3 votes, so.
We have the 3 votes, okay.
We have 3 votes, okay. So sorry. The next item on the agenda is, we got a memo through the town board from Stamford, Connecticut. They want to amend their town code to change their family estate regulations, saying that you can have a family estate that is on 10 acres. You can have 2.5 permitted use residences. And I looked at that, and it looks like if you have 1,000 square foot residence with a kitchen, it's only 1/4 of a use. So you can have no more than 4 separate 1,000 square residences. That makes 1, and then you get to have another 1.5 permitted use residences on their family estate. This again, we would respond to the town board. Oh, sorry. So this is for Stamford, Connecticut. The one that they are talking about is not adjacent to Lewisboro, but obviously this would apply to within their entire, municipal area. And what struck me, it's interesting that it comes right after our discussion that Greg had, is that they say, well, when you build it, it has to be a family member that lives there. And I'm thinking, who the heck is going to inspect that? I don't really quite know what goes on. So I think our question is, do we want to recommend any response to the town board to respond to the city of Stamford for this? I mean, I think, again, my question is just how the heck are they ever going to inspect this for compliance? Because it sounds like you could have quite a large family compound in what they mean, oh, sorry, family estate in what they call family estates.
Do we share a boundary with Stanford? I think we do with New Canaan, we do with Wilton.
Richfield?
I think we do, but you're asking.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think this is totally out of the blue. You know,
Yeah.
look at a map and tell you right away.
Right. And also, what are they asking from us?
Let us know. Usually it's an adjacent.
Yeah, I don't think we're adjacent to Stanford. I think you have to go through
New Canaan.
Yeah. Also, yeah. I
and Wilton.
You got to go down. You got to go down through Bedford, and then to hit Stanford.
Exactly.
Well, that's one of these things that I didn't even think of looking at a map.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. Gee, Christmas. Come on.
Pretty far away.
Yeah.
Siri?
Yeah. Where? Show me a map.
I don't think it's.
I mean, Lewisboro is big.
Yeah, I don't think it's adjacent.
But I think it's New Canaan and Ridgefield.
Right.
Maybe Wilton. I don't know if Wilton might. I don't know. If
Wilton for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is Stanford does come up. It might just hit the line because it looks like it's mostly south of Pound Ridge, but
Right. Yeah, but is that our Pound Ridge or Bedford's Pound Ridge?
well, what I don't know is exactly where that line goes up. I didn't try doing. Let me look
I
at
got a map right here. All right. Paper, you got to rely on paper sometimes.
The old-fashioned Hagstrom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Is this going to be on the test?
Oh, God. We got Pound Ridge to the east, town of New Canaan to the south, and the town of Wilton on the west.
What?
And Ridgefield too. Ridgefield.
No, Richfield. Well, Richfield, yeah.
No, we're contiguous with Ridgefield over at the South Salem. Yeah.
Yeah, in the northwest, but
Yeah.
No, but look to the south, and it would be south of.
I'm looking at it, Janet, and it's the entire southern boundary is the town of New Canaan.
Okay.
Well, listen, I'm looking at a map too, and that's North Stanford, which I think is different. And also, I think that's the part of Pound Ridge that goes to Bedford.
North Stanford, there's no North Stanford there, Greg. Not anywhere near.
Okay, well, all right. So that's even better then.
It's not even near our line. It's I don't know if you can see the map from here, but this whole southern boundary is the town of Canaan. This whole western boundary is the.
Okay, so you actually I'm just looking at a general map. You've got the
that's boundary line.
Yeah, I know. I see it. Yeah.
And then
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Then Pound Ridge turns
right
along Ward Pound Ridge and goes all the way to the town of Bedford, which is over here. So I don't know why we're concerned about Stanford's code.
Okay, so we can move that right along and say we have no comment to respond to the town board on this.
No comment.
So, Judd, do we need a motion to say we have no comment or?
No, I think you can just let it lie. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to let that lie. The next item on the agenda are the minutes, but they only came out, when was that? Yesterday? Today? It's all a blur. So I know I haven't read them.
They're beautiful. I mean, it's a transcription.
If it's minutes or if it's a transcript. If it's a transcript, then I mean, should just be looking for we should just be looking for typos or something, which I didn't see.
Yeah, look fine.
In the less than diligent way that I looked at them.
Well, let's hold it. Why don't you hold it over then until?
Well, if we have three that can approve. I
Yeah.
don't. Do you want to hold?
I move we approve it.
Yeah, I'll
As
second.
submitted.
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I saw on page 40 of the transcript, the comment I made. It says trying to do add another. It was that. It should have been corrected, that word. So probably just didn't pick it up. Other than that, I'm good with it.
Again, Rich, which paragraph?
The comment I made at page 40,
Yep.
middle of the page. So is there a better way to legislatively address what the board is trying to do? Add another municipality. It should have been that. So it just didn't pick it up.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to say as amended, Jerome?
As amended by Rich. Go ahead.
And Greg, your second would also
I'll
say as
second it.
amended?
Yes, yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Let me first say Jerome,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
And I'm okay too. And then we will say that our next meeting date, as previously discussed, is December 15th, 2020. We have set up a site walk for this coming Sunday. And with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, that's Greg. Any
I think
second?
Rich made it. I'll second it.
Rich made it the motion, Greg seconded. Any discussion?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
happy
Happy quarantine Thanksgiving, or whatever we're calling it. Socially distanced Thanksgiving.
2020 Thanksgiving.
Are
All
you
right.
going to see the grandkids, Greg?
I don't know who I'm going to be allowed to see. I think we're down to 7, and we usually have about 30. So